Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. Please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Jedley Magic on Twitter, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. Our guest today is the driving force behind Clear the List. Her name is Courtney Jones. Before we invite Courtney in to let us know what Clear the List is all about, we want you to clear your calendar and be sure to join us at one of our two great events in the greater Boston area this spring. On March 21st, the Reading with Your Kids podcast will be at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. We'll be there from noon until 3 p.m. presenting our great totally interactive magic show, a magic workshop, story time, a parenting workshop by the Boston Public Schools Parent University, and much, much more. It'd be a great chance for you to win super books. It's just a lot of fun. It's happening March 21st, East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. And then on April 5th, come on down to Kingston Collection to join us at the South Shore Kids Expo. April 5th, it's happening. We'll be presenting our totally interactive magic show. We'll also have our totally interactive Reading with Your Kids booth, where you and your family can experience what it's like to be a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. All happening April 5th, Kingston Collection, the South Shore Kids Expo. Joining us on the line right now from the Houston area in Texas. A little bit of a change of pace here on the podcast. Typically, we're talking to authors of fantastic children's books. Tonight, we are talking to a teacher, somebody that we entrust our kids with, who teaches our kids how to read, how to write, how to get along with others. Please welcome to the show, Courtney Jones. Courtney, how are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super, super excited to chat with you today.
I'm really excited to chat with you also. If you are on Twitter or any other kind of social media, you may have seen the hashtag Clear the List. And our guest tonight, Courtney Jones, she is the driving force behind Clear the List. And I love this. I don't love the fact that we need something like Clear the List, and we'll talk about that a little later. But Courtney, why don't you tell me what Clear the List is all about?
Yeah, so Clear the List is all about helping drive awareness to the issue of lack of funding for supplies for the classroom. And I've seen things done in ways that raise awareness, but I wanted to put a positive spin on it. And it kind of is with a little chip on my shoulder this summer. It was kind of like, hey, I'm out here getting ready, for my new school year. I'm buying supplies. Let's do this in a pay it forward manner. Let's change it up a bit. And so, a lot of teachers, you may notice, are retweeting their not even their colleagues, but just people they just randomly met on Twitter or Facebook, and they just share their list. Sometimes they buy items for each other. We've gotten obviously many public figures involved, a bunch of media outlets have gotten involved as well, and it's just been this huge collective effort to raise awareness, but to also get supplies into students and teachers' hands. And I just love that it's focused on not an empty positivity, but a positivity that means something. It's like, hey, I'm struggling too. I need markers and books for my classroom too. Let's hold hands, let's join forces, and let's see what we can do about it. And I can't believe that it's almost March and it's still going almost just as strong as it was in July when I started it. And the outpouring is just fantastic. There's been obviously hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of supplies bought, but really anyone in the community that is involved with Clear the List will tell you that it's just morale boosting. It makes people and teachers feel heard. And it really is just this beautiful embodiment of what teachers really are and what they do. They put themselves on the line to help other people and their students. And so it's just in this miraculous way of just saying, hey, we need help, but we're also here for each other. And so it's a camaraderie building, morale boosting initiative as well.
It really is. Now, my wife has been a teacher in the Boston Public Schools for 33 years. And
wow.
in that time, she has spent thousands and thousands of dollars buying school supplies. Here in my office, back in the old days when you needed to send flyers and things like that in the mail, and I would buy big cases of paper. She would come in and she'd go, can I have like half of that paper from my classroom because we don't have any scrap paper? And many of her friends would come to her aid. She didn't have the beauty of Clear the List and social media to help drive that. I have to tell you, I love that Clear the List is out there. I love that communities are coming together. It makes me crazy that this has to happen because we're spending millions and millions of dollars on kids' education, but it doesn't seem like the money is getting into the classrooms the way it should be.
Right. I completely agree. It's a pay it forward kind of uplifting movement and initiative, but really it drives me crazy too, which is why I'm like, I try to put all of my energy into helping support teachers going into their communities or going to their school board meetings. And, how do you sit in on a school board meeting? What can you ask for? Have you asked? All of these things just to help get, one, the local communities involved, get the schools to notice that, hey, something's up here. And I mean, we're having to go to social media. Like, let's relook at some things. Let's reexamine how we're spending our money. The beauty of it is a lot of districts have, at the beginning of the year, they were taking their teachers on shopping trips to Walmart and Target and saying, fill your basket. We'll get what you need. And I've seen teachers receive checks from their district to say, we're taking care of you. And it is sad that it takes something like this to drive it, but whatever it takes to drive it, I'm willing to put in the effort, and I hope that it just continues to have this ripple effect across communities all over the country. And then we even have some global interest into it as well. We have teachers from like Trinidad and Tobago, Canada, some from the UK, and it's crazy how similar some of our issues are and then how different some of our issues are as well. And so I completely agree with you that it drives me insane too, and it just like lights a fire inside me, and I just want to keep helping communities help their teachers and ultimately their students. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. One of the great things about Clear the List is that it's very local. The teacher of that particular classroom is saying, hey, this is what I need. I'm here on the ground floor. I'm working with the kids every single day. I know better what these kids in my classroom need better than a bureaucrat, someone in a central office buying supplies for 50 different schools.
Exactly. And that's what I love about it. It's personalized to where a teacher can say, okay, I need this type of math manipulative, not this one that's going to sit on my shelf and not be used because it doesn't help my demographic of students the way that I know that it will, or whatever the situation may be. Or maybe it's a certain professional development book that a teacher puts on their list and they say, this is what will help me grow. To me, the whole movement just screams about, like, all the teachers are just screaming saying, I want to learn. I want to be a great teacher. I want to do all these things. Stop stopping me, let's not get in our own way here. And so I completely agree with you. And I love that it's personalized in that way. And teachers are able to kind of stand up for themselves, advocate for themselves, and be empowered to say, I need help. Please help me.
And that's really, it might be hard to believe, but that's very difficult for a lot of teachers. I guess teachers, traditionally have, been in their classroom and, kind of did what they were supposed to do and didn't make a lot of noise. I'm happy
Right.
now that there's a way for them to get the support so that they can make the noise that their kids need them to make. And that's the bottom line, is that the teachers aren't there doing this for themselves. If they're looking for a professional development help, they want to become a better teacher for their kids.
Exactly. And that's what I've always said, is that this movement isn't to, call any school out and say you're doing a bad job.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying, it's cutting that out, and it's saying, let's just fix it. Let's refocus our energy on what really matters. And that's the teacher and the student and the success of both parties. I mean, that's the only way that we're going to instill real learning virtue in our students, is by having the resources available to do it.
Yeah. And I wonder, now, are any of the kids aware of this? Are any of the kids aware that, hey, there's the community, the folks, strangers care about me and they're helping me learn? Are kids aware of that? And if they are, what's their reaction?
Yes. So my personal students are aware, and they're kind of young. They're 9, but they understand to an extent, because they grow up in the social media age,
Mm-hmm.
that, and they think it's so funny, because they're like, oh my gosh, you have so many followers, and they're all teachers and donors trying to help you get supplies. And so they get captivated with that. But so many students know, that's kind of what's been really beautiful about the movement, is teachers have been able to receive the supplies and then show the students and say, this is the power of social media if you use it in the correct way. This is the power of going into your community. This is the power of paying it forward. And so many students have I've seen teachers, for example, they've given students the liberty, older students, to go look at another teacher's list or another classroom's list and say, okay, we love this book. We did a novel study on it, or whatever it is. And then they choose to buy that book for another classroom, maybe all the way across the country, that they have no idea who they are. They just want to pay it forward. And so it's just this beautiful ripple effect. I've seen giving trees being painted in classrooms with all of the little gift notes that come with gifts, and students just writing thank you notes, or signing the bottom of a teacher thank you note. I think that's one of the most inspiring and unintended lessons that I got out of it, and that so many have seemed to get out of it as well,
Mm-hmm.
is that it isn't just about paying it forward to the teacher. It's about the millions of students that are sitting in our classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting to learn a powerful lesson on that back end.
Yeah. I think that this is a beautiful way to give the kids a sense of empowerment. When they're out there and they're saying, hey, my actions are making a difference in the community and another kid's life that's on the other side of the country. I think that's an incredibly powerful lesson.
It really is. I know a lot of us were throwing around ideas for books that we have received through the movement, and inside each book, if I knew who sent it to me, I would write from Mrs. Tremont's class, or Mrs. Dorn's class sent this from Florida, if I can get that much information. And so when a kid picks that book up, they open the front cover, they say, oh, this wasn't the school that bought it for me. This wasn't Miss Jones, my teacher, who bought it for me. This is some random teacher or classroom in Florida when I'm in California who are thinking about me and want me to learn as well. And I completely agree with you. I think it's so powerful.
Now, I'm wondering, I do educational magic shows, so I've literally been in thousands of schools over the past 30 years. And in a lot of schools, one of the things you hear is that, kids don't really respect we have to really teach the kids to respect the property and to respect the books and things like that. Does knowing that this is coming from an individual and not some giant government make a difference to kids? Do they seem to be more respectful and more careful of these gifts?
That's a really interesting point. I don't know. In my classroom, it seems like they do, think about it. Mm-hmm. But I also think that because it comes from social media and that's articulated to them, I think that it resonates with them on a different level than we ordered this from a catalog mm-hmm. or offline and it just shows up in this cardboard box. I think they understand, because we're talking about a totally different generation, a mm-hmm. social media generation. So if I say, hey, someone on Twitter sent us this book, they get it in a different way. And so in my classroom, I've seen it. I've never really polled, the followers that I have about it. I'd be interested to know, but that's a really good point. And so I actually might ask that pretty soon.
Well, you do make a really good point in that your students today, they're very different. My kids are 23 and 26 right now, and they grew up with social media, but not to the extent that the kids are immersed in it today. And so it really is a different, kids are growing up in a very, very different way. They have this thing called social media in their lives. And like you kind of mentioned earlier, this is a great lesson for them to see how they can use this incredibly powerful thing, this social media, in a really positive way. Especially when so many of them are getting caught up in using it in negative ways.
Exactly. You see too often, the negative ramifications of social media in young people, whether that's, mental illness or bullying, cyberbullying and stuff. And so I think that you're right. It's a very powerful and meaningful lesson too, to say that it doesn't just have to be, social media doesn't just have to be negativity and bullying and this weapon, if you will. Mm-hmm. So many students seem to use it that way. It can actually be a healer and just a real community of support if you use it in the correct ways.
Yeah, this is so very, very exciting. Now, we talked, I know you have this huge presence on Twitter. Do you also have the same kind of presence on Instagram, Facebook, other social media platforms?
Yeah, so believe it or not, the whole movement started, it had a different name on Facebook back in July. And so right now it's under the name of Support a Teacher, Clear the List. So you can still find it by searching it. There's 6 active groups right now with over 120,000 people. Instagram, I think the hashtag alone has like 18,000 mentions. I have over 10,000 followers there. Twitter's amazing because outside, the public gets to see. It's not that insulated teacher world that gets to see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So Twitter's been a little different and a lot more beneficial in ways that I wasn't expecting either. I wasn't on Twitter before this. The movement actually led me to Twitter because I realized that we had something powerful and that we needed to be heard. And so that's whenever I was like, okay, guys, let's all go to Twitter and let's have an event and let's just make Twitter, see us and understand us, and not in a negative or ugly way, but in a way that's just saying, hey, I need help. I'm not used to asking for help, kind of like what you alluded to earlier. Mm-hmm. Teachers aren't used to standing up for themselves. We're selfless by nature. Mm-hmm. We're always in it for the kids, but it's coming to this time where we're in it for the kids means that we have to advocate for them. They're not being advocated for all the time outside of it. And so it takes some extra measures, but I think it's completely worth it. And communities have been so responsive. They've been so positive. Schools have as well. I'm super excited about this new fundraising tool I've been building where schools will actually have an incentive to get involved and to fundraise for every transaction made through a school site or a teacher's wish list through this company that I work for, the school actually receive a donation on the back end. So they're going to be receiving 4 to 20% of a transaction amount whenever someone buys markers for your classroom or pencils for your classroom or the new book that just came out. So I'm super excited to get that launched because I think schools will see that this isn't just about teachers. It isn't just about getting supplies. It's about raising money. It's about investing in our kids' future. It's about investing in our profession. I mean, the current state of the teaching world is not super positive. We have teachers, especially where I'm at in Texas, we have only like 6,000 graduates and 24,000 empty spots across the state for teachers that are just leaving in droves. And so we just need positivity. We need to invest in our future, and we need to invest in ourselves too. I think that's so important, and I think teachers forget to do that. So often they forget to invest in themselves. Mm-hmm. And I've hoped that I kind of helped spark some hope and spark some faith back into humanity. And it wouldn't be anything without the hundreds of thousands of teachers that are right there along with me advocating and empowering each other.
Wow, it really is incredible when you think about that number. 100,000 teachers have been mobilized by little old you since July. We're talking 6 or 7 months.
I know. It really it's very inspiring. It's very humbling. I try not to take much credit for it. I mean, I do the work on the back end of just keeping things running and keeping morale up and connecting with organizations and donors and companies and celebrities to try to bring all of us together and be on the same page. So I do work really hard to keep it going and keep that momentum up, but it would be absolutely nothing without the teachers on all these social media sites or all the teachers going to school board meetings or going into their local grocery stores or supply shops and saying, is there anything you can do to help my classroom or help my school? This is what we need. If you can help me, let me know. Mm-hmm. And so it really would be nothing without all of the teachers across the entire movement doing their part. I mean, it really is a team effort.
And if you're listening out there and you love kids and you want to make a difference in kids' lives, just imagine for a minute, you go out and you buy a set of markers, and that set of markers ends up in Miss Jones' class, and maybe there's a 9 or 10-year-old there who picks up those markers and just falls in love with creating art. And your little donation could, change the trajectory of this kid's life where suddenly he or she is like, I have this ability, I have this talent, and I can do this, and I want to explore this. And wow, it was all made possible because some caring person out there made this donation.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, where can folks find out more about the movement? I know we can go on and search Clear the List and find individual lists, but if we want to know more about this new fundraising tool that you're putting together and learn more about the movement itself, where can we go?
So obviously social media is going to put you right in the middle of it all. The new fundraising tool will be fully launched in the next month or two, but to learn more about it, you can go to Clear the List with no S, it's singular, clearthelist.tree3.com, and you'll see our landing page where we will have videos up with tutorials on how to create your registry there or your website for schools and teachers alike. We're currently talking with some big companies that are ready to sponsor this new back-to-school season. So a lot of people are noticing the movement, and they're ready to launch right back into it come this summer, which is right around the corner, which is kind of crazy to me. But social media, obviously, the hashtags, following me, looking at my threads, or joining on Facebook, those are all fantastic ways. But that new fundraising tool, I really think that we're onto something there, because the schools are going to reap the benefits on the back end just by purchasing their simple annual supplies, getting their teachers taken care of, getting their students taken care of, and they get to do more at their school because of the donations made on the back end. So I'm so excited about it. And I truly can't thank you enough for having me and showcasing Clear the List. I think it's beautiful, and I'm glad that you think that it's powerful and, beautiful and inspiring as well.
Absolutely. Now, I can't let you go. Name of the podcast is Reading with Your Kids. As a teacher who's so involved, how important is it that parents and families read together on a regular basis?
Oh my goodness. I can't stress it enough. My master's degree is actually in reading, even though I'm a math and science teacher. I have such a love for reading and a passion for connecting kids with books that they enjoy for just the simple love of reading. But for parents to sit down and read with their kids, it models amazing behavior. It helps just explore worlds together that you wouldn't ever get to explore any other way. You can go to deep under the sea one day, and then the next day you're on some dragon fiery planet who's going to destroy Earth. Just the adventures that you can take together as a family, I think really open the door for really deep and thoughtful conversation and exploration, and I can't stress it enough. It's one of my biggest passions.
We've had such an eye-opening experience talking with the driving force behind Clear the List, Courtney Jones. Courtney, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you so much for starting this movement.
Thank you so much too. I truly can't thank you enough, and on behalf of all of the teachers involved in the movement and all of the schools involved in the movement, I'm going to say thank you on their behalf too.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be our Dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson. She'll be back with another great STEM Tuesday edition of the podcast. You don't want to miss it. If you are the author of a great children's book, you may be frustrated with the fact that now that you've become an author, you've also become the head of marketing for your great children's book, and it might be something that you find overwhelming. Well, you don't have to do it alone. We are here to help. The Reading with Your Kids podcast team has a number of great author services that can help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. We have a great spring promotion going on right now that can bring your book to our live events and display your book at our events at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library, also at South Shore Kids Expo. We'll get some great pictures of families interacting with your books. We'll make you some videos that you can use on your author page and so much more. We also have our great Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program that has made such a difference for so many authors. Listen, all you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the Author Services button at the top of the page, find out what we can do to help you out. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Courtney Jones. Please be sure to check out the hashtag Clear the List. I also want to thank the incredible team that helps make the Reading with Your Kids podcast possible. My amazing producer, Fatima Khan. My amazing account manager, Peggy Cotto. My beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for providing security here in the studio. But most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking through the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.